Hi everybody. So week 2 of this fully online experience. Hopefully everyone's doing well, and that you're not feeling too cooped up in your houses. Hopefully you all have a chance to go out and have a walk outside, or whatever it is you can do to break the monotony. Anyway, so I don't know if I'm going to do that, but at least I can give you something else to put your brain on for a while if that's something that's desirable. So I'm going to write a few notes here about my plan of attack for today. So what I want to do today is get you started on project 2. Mostly just by laying out what tools or techniques I think will be most useful to you in completing project 2. It's due in a couple of weeks yet, but we're almost entirely past all of the content that you need to solve the project, with one exception. So the way I'm going to do that is just sort of discuss the tools or techniques you might use, and also discuss using the standard library. Oh, sorry. So, bad audio? Let me turn my audio down a touch if I can. In a new room, it might be just a little bit echoey. Maybe if I speak more softly, it will help. Although I'm worried that something may have changed since this morning. Yeah, I can see that you're getting quite loud. Let me back it off a little bit. Is that any better? I'm also getting a little bit of lag on my side, so hopefully that's not true for you. I'll try to remember that setting. And I've moved to a different room where I have a more... now that's a bummer. Well, I don't know what that's about. Let me turn it off and turn it back on. Hold on, go quiet for a second. Alright, so I've got it. Interesting. I'm guessing it's an internet issue of some sort. So what I will try to do is put plenty of notes here so you know what it is that I'm covering, so that we don't spend too much time fooling around with the audio. But apparently I'm having an audio issue, so apologies for that. If you have to mute me, I should get most of what you need on this notes page here to know what it is that I'm about to talk about. Hold on, you're about to hear terrible echo so I can hear myself. On this notes page here to know what it is that I'm about to talk about. Yeah, it's very echoey. Well, next, hold on, I'm going to get a baffle and see if I can help myself. Really bad echo. Maybe if I had to open the door, which I think is actually better with the door open. So you guys can let me know. I made an adjustment to my room so that my voice is not echoing around quite as much as it was before. Okay, so, or at least hopefully you can make out enough, but I opened the door and I think that's taking the echo down a little bit. I'll have to work on that. Okay, so I want to help you get started on Project 2 that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. And you already know just about everything that you need to know to do Project 2. And then the new content for Lab 9 will be pointer syntax and new and delete keywords. And the concepts of static versus dynamic objects is what we'll keep it to. So that's the plan of attack for today. Hopefully I've got my audio somewhere where it's a little bit less objectionable. Let's see what I can do about that. It's difficult right now to get casting tools at places like Best Buy and online because a lot of people have moved online. So, my house doesn't have a whole lot of spaces in it for this. So anyway, I will work on that. Apologies for the video issues. Hopefully you will see on the screen, at least in terms of the text, things that are useful to you. Okay, so I want to have a look at Project 2. So notice that's due April 10th. If you didn't notice, by the way, let me go to the announcements page, which you can't see. So let me get the browser where you can see it. Okay, so if you hadn't seen it on my website yet, I've changed just to be a little bit more flexible. I'll accept weekly assignments up through Sundays, but that'll also include the project. So this week is Lab 9, so I will accept it as anytime through the end of Sunday, and we won't grade until Monday. That's just to give you a little bit more time if you want to review videos and stuff. This is because we don't have the live lab to work together. But the same will go for the project. So the project officially is due on April 10th, but if you get it to me before the end of April 12th, which will be a Sunday, we'll still take it without any deduction. So just have that in mind. Okay, so Project 2. So I'm going to just read through it and then tell you what I hope you already have encountered that you will use to solve this project, and then I will also add in the sorting component so you have seen how to do that. Yeah, so I actually lowered my mic. It's pretty low now. I think it's a combination of the room and the internet that I have, so hopefully you can make out enough. I opened the door to this room and that seems to have cut back the echo. I wasn't having this issue this morning, or at least no one said anything about it, so I haven't moved myself. I'm just kind of guessing that maybe... Oh, okay. Well, let me lock the volume on that spot so that's... if that works, then I'll keep the volume right there. So apparently I had it up too high and combined with this echoey room, that was a problem. Well, maybe I can shut the door. Hold 1 second. Okay. It's a little bit more echoey, so if it starts to sound bad, please let me know, and I'll reopen the door. But my wife's outside the door trying to work, so this would be better for her. Okay, so project 2. Note, by the way, if you can, 2 people can submit a project if you want to work together on this one. I don't normally do this, but I like everyone to have the option to at least have one sort of teamwork experience. So if you want to have a teamwork experience in this class, you can have it. So some people are doing okay and others aren't. It's no doubt the network then. I wish there was anything I can do about it, but there's not. So I'll try to put things on the screen. I'll open the door back. I'll try to put text on the screen. So sorry. I have no other options, and all I have is my laptop mic. So I will see what I can do about getting myself a broadcaster mic, but that's not. I doubt it's going to happen this week, and it's certainly not going to happen for this right now. So sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to do my best and I will list out, so you'll see me type the text for what I think is going to be the best ways for you to solve the second project. So you can work with another student, which means that 2 of you can submit a joint project. I will at some point show you a working demonstration of this of this project. So not today, but at some point I'll show you how mine works, so you can, if that is helpful to anybody. Like all projects, there's 50 free points if you write some documentation at the top of your source files. There's 50 free points if you format neatly. 50 points, I call them free points if you submit them with a makefile that works, because I still think most of you, if you're going on to another institution or going out into industry, you need to know how to use a makefile. Okay, so, pardon me. The nature of this project, reading in lines from a file. So, we've practiced that a few times now. We've even created a function for you to do that. So, look back through your labs for a function that opens and reads a file and loads up the contents of that file. In my opinion, it's easiest if you do that, a vector, that every element of the vector is one whole line of the file. So we have that. Is it city in this one? No, country. So you'll use a struct or a class to model a country, and by that I mean, if you look at this data file, so some people can't hear anything and some people are doing just fine. I wish I could do something about that. This is my normal volume level, which I think is pegged too high for most people. That's higher, so is that all distorted for everybody? Or how does that sound? With this setting, I had at least one person say they just seemed to clear the audio problem up for them. But then I get some people who say they can't hear anything, so everything that I'll put I'll try to type a summary of everything that I'm saying, which is what I'm already doing. Is typing a summary of everything I'm saying. I still don't know what to do about the audio issue, unfortunately. There's not really anywhere I can go in a house to fix this. I don't think. Hold on. Let's take a walk and see if we can find something better. Have an audio problem. Let's see if this room's any better. It sounds, well, it's echoey too. And darker. Alright, so I'm in a different room. So I'm off the table, I'm in a different room. Maybe it's less echoey. But I've never had this issue like this, so I think it's the internet. I'm just going to march on and hope for the best. I think my wife's testing. Are you listening to my stream to see if the audio is terrible?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's a little noisy sounding.
But not unintelligible?
It might be the network. It has to be.
You're having issues with the network?
There's a lag.
Well, that's true. That's always the case. I'm just going to have to do my best to summarize what I'm saying. So again, sorry about that.
It's intelligible.
Okay. Not for everybody. Alright, so we're talking about Project 2. The tools and techniques. So we have practiced it a few times now, reading in the contents of a file. We have created a function together where we read the file into a vector, and then we loop the vector to get each line of the file out of that vector. So all of the same techniques. Actually, no, that doesn't do that. Never mind. That same technique where we read lines from a file, putting them in a vector makes life easy. Use a struct or class to model a country. If we look at the data file, I want to open it. I want to open it. I want to open it. Let me open it from here. Alright, so if we look at the data file, got all my rhythms all messed up for the audio problems. What the data file is one line of the file has several pieces of information on it. Has a country name, has a population number, it has an area in square miles, it has a population density, it has a net migration rate, it has a GDP per capita, it has a literacy rate, and it has a birth rate. So that's what you're going to get when you load up the file into a vector, each element of the file is going to be that whole line. Then you're going to loop through all the lines from the file that are in a vector and parse each line for all of its fields. We've done this before as well. The number and the meaning of the fields has changed, but we have done this before where we've taken input. In fact, it was what, lab 7 or lab 8, where we took an input and we broke it apart around some separator character. In this case, it's the commas. We've also written code, by the way, to ignore comments, which is what this first line is. See the hash symbol at the front? So our file reading code needs to ignore that line and assume that it's just a comment and not real data. We've done that as well. Okay, so you're going to read all these lines, then you're going to take each line, you're going to loop through a vector that has all these lines in it, and you're going to parse each line, and you're going to use that data to populate the fields of a struct. So the struct might look something like this. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but just to give you a bit of a hint. If you have a country struct, then you're going to have fields in it like the name of the country, the population, which looks to be like an integer to me, square miles look like integers as well. And so on. So that's what I mean by model each country, is you have a struct that has fields in it that map to all of the pieces of data that you're getting from the file. This is project 2, remember, that we're talking about right now. Okay, so you're going to use a struct to model, and then you're going to, as you create each new country and populate it with data from the file, you will add each country to a vector of countries. So you're going to have a second vector. The first vector will be the lines from the file. Then you're going to loop through the file vector and create countries, and then you're going to take each country as you create it, and you're going to put the country into a second vector of countries, which will allow you then to do manipulations on the vector of countries. And I'm about to do an example, because what you're really wanting to do for this project is sort the vector of countries. And we've done pieces of this as well, but you're going to want to sort the vector of countries using the standard library sort function. For the data viewer part of the project. So, for example, to view the most populous country, well, that would be sorting the vector of countries by population and then looking at the highest number, which would be the very last element of the country's vector after it's been sorted. And how am I doing on time? I'm doing okay on time, so I'm going to keep going with this thought for a few more minutes. So hopefully everyone's kind of getting the sense of how you might begin to attack the project. You should, in theory, have all of the knowledge and tools and techniques available to you to get all the way up to the point where you're actually viewing data inside the vector. Let me go back real quick and look at our labs, because I've also had you I think do a sort at some point, but possibly not. And if I haven't, then we were going to add that in. Okay, possibly not. So I'll just assume that you haven't seen that part, and I will give you examples of how to do that. Okay, so this will be the first time we've looked at this. We'll look at this very same technique again in the near future. So I'm going to make a source file, and I'm going to set up a struct, and then I'm going to create a few instances of that struct and put them in a vector, and then talk about how do I sort the vector by different fields. So let me make a new file here. I'm going to include IO streams so we can do some printing. I'm going to include vector. And I also need to include the algorithm library, which is where the sort lives. And then I'm going to use the catch-all using namespace standard so that you don't have to look at nearly as much code for that part. Hopefully the audio is settled for people. I may have to move my little studio into my bedroom here where it seemed to be getting a little bit better acoustics. Let's call this project 2 starter. CPP. Alright, so what I'm here to do is kind of show you the sorting part that you're going to need for this second project. So I'm going to create a struct, and I would just call it like I'll call it item, which we've used before, kind of like an item maybe in a vending machine. So items will have names, they'll have the quantity of them that we have available to us, and then I'll also give them each a price. And then I'll make a few and then show you how to sort them if I have a vector of them. So there's my model. I'm modeling an item for a vending machine. How many I have, what the price is, and what the name of the item is. I'm going to write myself a utility function here. So I'm going to have a function that returns an item called makeItem, where I give it a name, a desired quantity, and a desired price. So in this function I will make an item, and then I will populate the item with the arguments coming in. So this name here becomes the item's name. The item's quantity is the quantity I get as an argument, and the item's price is the price that I get as an argument. So remember the things on the right, that name is the argument, this quantity is the quantity argument, and this price is the price argument. And then I'm using those. I made an item, I am loading up the item's fields with that data, and then I will return the item. So now I have a little function that will create items based on data fields for me. That just makes life a little bit easier. Alright, so now I'm going to make a main. This is not obviously the whole project. This is just how do you do this part. How do you sort things in a vector. So let me make, let's see, I need a vector to hold a bunch of items, and I will call this my items. So items is my vector that will contain a bunch of item in it. And then I will item.pushback. I'll just push back a few. and I'll just make the item right in place. So let's just say that I have water, I have 10 of those, and they cost 99 cents each. I will have Apple, have 3 of those, and let's charge $1.75 for those. Wrong thing. Tens. So I made the make item function just because this makes life easier. I'm going to have healthy snacks in here. I'll put crackers. Let's say I have 8 boxes of those, and those are like $2.50 each. Alright, so I have a vector called items. I have push back, water, apple, and crackers, and now I'm going to use a loop to print them. In fact, I'm going to write a function for that as well. I'm passing a constant reference because I don't want to change items, but I do want to save memory and not make a copy for this function. So I'll pass in a constant reference, which is a little more efficient, and then I'll loop it in the for each style. For each item I that I get from items, I will print out the name, and then the price. I'm not going to do the magic formula here. I could, but I'm not gonna. The price, and then I will do, let me break this line right here in fact. So I broke it across 2 lines just to make it easier to read. Okay, so this will take a vector of item. It will for each loop it. So for each item that I will call I, that I get from items as I cycle through it, I'll print out the name, a $, the price, and then in parentheses I'll put the quantity that I have in stock. That's all that is. That's there so that I can show you the results of sorting the vector when we do that. So the first thing I'll do is I will call print items and pass items to it, just to see that it has, in fact, water, followed by apple, followed by crackers. It's not going to be very nicely formatted, but who cares? So anyway, there's the water, apple, and crackers with the stock values, and they're in that order because that's how I push them back onto the vector. Okay, now what I want to do is show you how do you get these things to sort. So in the standard library, there is a sort function. I'll show it to you, in fact. So if you do a search for C++ std : sort, I usually go to the c++.com reference, but you can use the CPP reference link. I'm going to go to the second link for this. Alright, now if I can get this to cooperate a little bit. So this is kind of hard to see, but what I want to do is this one right here. So I'm going to use the standard library's sorting function. I'm going to give it the beginning of my vector and the end of my vector to say I want to sort the entire vector from beginning to end. And then I'm going to plug in a function that does the kind of sorting that I want. So if you look in the example here, this my function is a reference to their own function that is doing comparisons. So that's the thing to note here. And I'll explain in my example here in a second as I work it through. So I want to be able to do this. I want to say that I want to sort from the beginning of my items to the end of my items, let's say by item name. So this by item name means that I intend to write a function that compares the names of items. I think you might have seen this before, but this is the point. That's what I want it to do. So I'm going to go implement that function. Comparison functions always return true or false. So it's going to, basically it has to compare the names of two functions and return true if one comes before the other. You don't really have to think tons about that. You just have to know that a comparison function that you plug in to sort needs to take two of the things that you're comparing, which for me is two items. I'll call it I1 and I2, and return a true or a false. And you can experiment with this to see how it changes the behavior, but since I called my function item name, I'm going to take the name of I1 and compare it to I2. So that's my sorting function. All it does is tells me whether one item's name comes before another item's name. This is hard to see, but basically this sorting library function will automatically pass pairs of your items to it to compare their names. So sort automatically grabs pairs of items and sends them into this function, and then decides whether or not to move one before the other by comparing, in this case, their names. So here I'm going to say compare the two names, but let's just print it and see what happens. I'm going to put a little note in here, so let's see what that does. I should have put some more line breaks in there, but do you notice the second outputs, which, let me just go ahead and do that. So the first one, this is the order that they were pushed back in. So I push back water, and then I push back apple, and then push back crackers. But notice after I sort by item name, it's actually apple comes before crackers, comes before water. And that was, I didn't do anything other than write a function that compared them by saying one item's name comes before another. Let's switch this to be greater than and see what happens. My guess is that you can guess what happens here. So by switching that to a greater than, it actually sorted it from high in the alphabet, sort of descending through the alphabet. Alright, so let's sort by quantities. So if I want to sort by quantity, I'm just going to call the function by quantity. I'm going to give it, I know that it's going to get two items. And all I have to do is say, well, what do I want to do with those two items? Well, I want to return the result of comparing the quantity of one of them against the quantity of the other. If I do this less than, then I know that the smaller quantity pops out first. If I do a greater than, then the larger quantity pops out first. So now in my code down here, let me push it up. So after sorting by quantity, which I need to do that, from the beginning to the end, by quantity now, and we'll see the third display should notice the third display is ascending order by quantities. Right, I mean, a good place to switch gears and go back to the other thing. So, on project 2, you're going to write a whole bunch of these by population, by area, by density, and you may have a different comparison function for each of these things that you're looking for, but that's what the project will do, is it will sort your vector of countries by these different fields. So that's the other part of the project that we hadn't seen. So sort of put that in your head, and then you can mull that example over. Oh, I can just do a quick sort of chat poll. My plan is to put this code in the file section of my website. Can anyone give me a yes if anyone would find that useful? And I'll date stamp them. Okay, so I'll put this, it's called Project 2 Starter, but I'll also add the date to the file name. Okay, perfect. So when I get done this morning, I'll post this to the files section of my website. So this is the other tool or technique that you need for the second project. What are you looking at still? Okay. Oh, you never saw my outputs. No one said anything. Well, you were being nice. There's my final output. So that's unsorted, just in the order they were created. This one's sorted by name. And notice they're in ascending order because I did a comparison with less than. And this last one is sorted by the amount in stock, 3810, because I used less than when comparing the quantities of the items. If I had used greater than in comparing the quantities, this would be, it would have been water followed by crackers followed by apple. It would have been in descending order. So it's sorting the entire item's data based on the one field. That's what's happening. Okay, so now I have to jar us all and switch gears to introduce you to pointers for 15 minutes or so. Hopefully the audio has become usable. I need to move my in-house studio probably to this room. Is a little bit less echoey. And then remember that I need to lower the gain on my mic. And in the meantime, I'll see if I can get myself a headset and get a better mic. Plus, my Corona hairdo won't be as objectionable on the screen. Okay. So switching gears to new stuff entirely. So if it suits you better, you can choose to watch this later. What I'm about to talk about will not be used. I mean, you can, but what I'm about to talk about you do not need for the second project at all. This is new stuff where we're starting now to work forward toward the last two projects, projects 3 and 4, and some of the techniques in there, and also for Lab 9. So now I am moving on to talking about pointers, new and delete, and then static versus dynamic objects. Today, I think all I've really got time to do is talk a little bit about pointers, and then I will reconnect those on Thursday back to what do I mean by a dynamic object versus a static object. So this is going to be a second example file, and I will post this file also to the file section on my website. So there should be 2 files that will have somewhere in their file name today's date, which is March 31st. Okay, so pointers. This, by the way, this pointer stuff is one of the most difficult things we do in this class. One of the reasons why we use C++ is actually because of this, so that we can give you this experience. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new example, and I'll have IO streams so that I can do some outputs if I want to. And then I'll call this pointers March 31st.cpp. Okay, so completely different subject. This is not a technique that you will need to use for project 2, but it is sort of one of the stars of the remainder of the semester, and for you, one of the challenges to get comfortable with this technique in C++. So what I'm going to do is sort of, I need string also. Should I use string? Sure. Let's use string. I'm going to juxtapose the new technique with the old techniques that I hope that you know. So hopefully you're familiar with the old style of string that we've been using all semester. So type of string, you name the string object, and then optionally you can pre-populate it with data. And then you also know that you can print out stuff about it, like the string itself. You can print out its size. You can print out select characters of it. That's sort of all old hat for us. What we're about to add in, though, is a new syntax. So we're just going to get all of the core syntax out of the way today, and then we'll spend more time on Thursday while we work through the lab together talking about the broader context, like why are we using these and what can you do with them. For now, just kind of worry about recognizing the differences and then starting to get some muscle memory for the syntax. So one thing you'll notice is that MSG is a string, which you're familiar with, but PMSG is a string star. That's a different data type. So P, and I use the P to make it easier to recognize it for now. PMSG is not a string. PMSG is a string pointer. And using string pointers is different from using what we're used to as strings. Then that's what we're about to go over. This means null pointer. And again, we'll sort of go back through the details, but what this means is that right now, PMSG is a string pointer that points at nothing. It's just pointing out into space. So let's make it point at something. So I'm going to allocate memory for a string. Some people will call this manual memory management. We've never used this word before, but pmessage, I'm actually going to take it and allocate memory and then point pmessage at the new memory, and I'll say I am a pointer. And again, let's just worry about the new syntax for now. So pmessage is a string pointer, and the way you will often use pointers to things is by taking them and using them to allocate memory. And some people will call this manual memory management. I'm manually allocating memory for a string, which we've never done before. We've never in this class manually allocated memory for anything. So this is the first time that we have manually allocated memory for something. This old style string, that's being automatically allocated for us. This new style string, we are manually allocating it. And it's different. So now here comes the different parts. So I'm going to print out PMSG by itself, and I change the note beside it because pointers aren't data, they are addresses in memory. And you can actually print them and you can see the value of the memory that you manually allocated. So pmessage is actually pointing to or storing the address of a piece of memory that I manually allocated. And when you print out a pointer by itself, what you will see is the address of the memory that you manually allocated. If you want to see the message itself, you have to do what's called dereferencing. The pointer. So if I want the string at that address and not the address itself, then I use the star in a slightly different way, and we call that dereferencing the pointer. But what that means is take the address and give me the data in that memory. And the data in that memory should be I am a pointer. It's going to look the same for other things. So the message length is going to look funny. Pmessage is just a number, but if I want the size of the actual string, then I have to take pmessage and dereference it. And then because of the weird sort of dot and stuff, you actually have to do this. So I am dereferencing the address, which gets me to the actual data, and then once I get to the actual data, I can get the size of it. And then same thing for our first character of message. So pmessage is just a number. So if I want to get the actual data that's the character, I have to dereference pmessage. And then because of the funky sort of symbols all over the place, I have to put parentheses around that. So I dereference the address to get the actual string data, and then I use that to grab the first character of it. I'm going to compile that and run it before we go too much further. And I'm starting to run out of time, so I don't want to get... it's called pointers. Okay, so if you'll notice up here, this is where the pmessage part starts, and if I just print out pmessage, that number is the address in memory of where that's the memory address where I got my memory. Your numbers are probably going to look different, right? Look on each person's machine, the actual value for that address is probably different for all of us. So the second line, that's where I dereferenced that number to get the actual data. The third line is where I dereferenced that number to get the size of the data. And the third one is where I dereferenced the number to get the first character. I used the square brackets there. I could have also used the .at. Alright, and then I'm going to do this. So usually when we manually allocate memory like this, we're doing it for some temporary use. Sometimes. But assume that when you manually allocate memory that you probably are only using it for some length of time that's not necessarily permanent. But anyway, when you manually allocate memory, you actually have to then manually deallocate, or what we call freeing the memory, free the memory. And to do that, you use the keyword delete. So if I delete pmessage, I free the memory that pmessage refers to. What that really means is I'm I'm handing that chunk of memory back to the operating system so that it can use it for other things. I'm going to try to squeeze in the last couple of minutes one more quick example. So let's go through this and we'll look at the alternate syntax. Alright, so there's two syntaxes for this. So let's make another string pointer. I will call this P message, I'll call it P pointer to, what do I want this message to be? Pointer to a greeting. And initially, I'm going to make the pointer point at nothing. Alright, so I'm going to take the pointer and use it to manually allocate memory. That's what the new does. I'm manually allocating memory for a string. I'll do a greeting, have a nice day. So there's the new and manually allocated memory. Let me put an extra blank line between the sections. Alright, so same thing as I did with P message, P greeting, and manually allocating memory. So P greeting now is that address. Yeah, we're having network issues, sorry about that. Doing our best. So the last couple of minutes, so the file will be available. As soon as maybe there's a spike in usage midday or something. Okay, so P greeting is now a number. It's an address number, so I'm going to print that. That simply tells me, which is usually not very useful, but what's the actual address number in memory of where I allocated this memory. Greeting, so I'm going to dereference to get the data at that address. And now we're going to get to some alternate syntax, which is where I'll sort of finish this thought, and then we'll pick back up on this next time. Message length. So what I really want is P greeting size. And I can do it this way, P greeting dot size. But some people find this syntax awkward. So a very common syntax for this is this alternative, this arrow. So what the arrow does is it dereferences P greeting and then gets the size. So this is an alternative using the arrow to what we did up here with P message size, where we wrapped it in parentheses, we dereference it with a star, and then used a dot. We can just use the pointer and the arrow, and that also does the dereferencing. So I can do that also for first character of greeting. I can use the arrow. Syntax instead. And then to get you in the right habit, when I'm done with it, I'm going to use the delete keyword to free the memory back. So I took it manually, I'm going to free it manually. So practicing with that stuff is a lot of what Lab 9 is about, because we're coming up on linked lists, and linked lists use a lot of pointers and news and deletes. So this week we want to try to start to get comfortable using pointer syntax, and then we'll get a lot of practice on it in the weeks to come. So I'm going to post both of these. Let me do a save as. Can I do have two on these? I cannot. They're both going to say March 31st at the end of them. So The projects Tues started March 31st and then pointers March 31st, so those will be in the file section when I get done today. Sorry about the audio issues. I'm going to go shopping for a headset and see if we can nip that in the bud with a slightly better mic than my laptop mic. I didn't want to have to spend that money, but it looks like I probably will have to do that. Anyway, I'm stopping. I'm happy to answer your questions, so I'm going to sit here for a few minutes and see if you have questions for me. We will work together on Lab 9 on Thursday, and I'll try to keep reminding you that you need to start working on Project 2 and move forward. Thanks for being here, Jake. I appreciate it. We'll do our best with the audio issue. I know that kind of sucked. Hopefully the code samples will give you most of what you need, and then I'll leave these notes sort of at the end of the broadcast as well. This is the stuff that I talked about. So sample in files, and then we also did a sample in files. Thank you, Yamachi. I'm glad those of you who could make it, I'm glad you were here. Actually, while I'm sitting here, I'm just going to go ahead and do that load. You too. Thank you. Have a good one too. So if you're still with me, I just posted the files, should be in the file section now. Those two samples, they both have MAR31 at the end of the names. Oops. I do have an office hour tomorrow, so I'll just be sort of sitting here, maybe occupying my time coding on something, but if you have questions I haven't got answered yet, you can email me, or you can ask me now or tomorrow or on Thursday, whatever works. You can ask me about that if you're struggling with the make files still. Not anything should have changed about them, but the thing to be most careful about with the make file is that the compiler command is what it has to be to compile that. So if you have more than one CPP file, then the compiler command has to have both. But they shouldn't, there's nothing changing about them over time, other than occasionally there's an extra CPP file to add to the compiler command part. But you can email me if you have a makefile that's not working, and I can see if I can figure out what's wrong with it. Don't forget, everybody, by the way, we have Discord, so you all should have gotten a link. Several of you have signed up, but not everybody. But there is Discord now, which is sort of everybody can help everybody in there. Yeah, that's fine. So double check it, but if you can't get it working, send it to me. It's helpful if you send me everything, the makefile, like the whole project, so I can kind of see everything that you're seeing, and if you can describe what you think is, or what you're seeing that doesn't seem right about it, that can give me a starting place. Anybody have any? Okay. Usually that means that you have a typo somewhere. So if it's saying that that's not your makefile, that's your code. That's the compiler probably telling you that you have a reference to a function that doesn't exist, and that's usually a typo. So check things like upper and lowercase letters and the spelling of stuff, and I'm not sure what lab you're working on, but make sure that the function names match everywhere. You may just have to like screenshot that and send that to me, and usually I can see in the screenshot where someone has typed something wrong. If you send it now, by the way, I can just look at it by email and answer it here on the spot if you want. Okay, I'm going to sign off, so if you're still here and you're still working with questions, please just email me those. Okay, alright, so I'll handle this one before I sign off. I'm downloading, give me a sec. Yeah, so in test.cpp, that was my typo actually. So in test.cpp, change wordlist.h to, so inside of test.cpp, it's got wordlist with a capital W and a capital L, but the file is actually with a little w and a little l. That should fix it. I'm going to do it myself just to make sure that's the only thing. But that should be the only thing. Yeah, it's going to build that way. So it's not your makefile, it's just that thing in the source. I'm going to change that actually, because that's going to just crop up for people forever if I don't. Wordless, what is that, lab 8? It's probably lab 8. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That should get you fixed because it builds for me now. Okay, so I'm signing off. Do you have any? Should get you fixed, I think. Okay, all good. So I'll be here at 10 in the morning if you have further questions, or you can email me. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on Thursday at 11. We'll see if I can do anything about the audio by then, hopefully. So have a good day.